we're about to get into something very personal. So rewind a little bit. How did we get here? How did I get here? A big part of 2021 for me was sharing publicly that I have genital herpes. Maybe you're like right now totally surprised if you've been following me on Instagram and social media. I talked about this very openly. I was on a friend Shan Boudreaux's podcast. She's an incredible sexologist, and she asked me to come on to talk about this.
Let's talk about herpes, baby.
Yes,
let's talk about
we're going there.
So rewind a little bit. How did we get here? How did I get here? Well, over a decade ago, I was diagnosed with herpes, and like lots of people who are diagnosed, I wasn't sure where I got it from. I mean, I kind of think I do, but as I came to learn, you can have it asymptomatic in your body for a long time and then suddenly something triggers it. So you could actually be positive for HSV1 or 2, that's oral or genital, and not know that you have it and then suddenly show symptoms or never show symptoms at all. For a long time, I was very ashamed by it. I kept it a secret, which I'm not proud of, and it took me a long time to come to terms with it. I am not alone. And that's why I thought it was really important to share my story. So yeah, basically it was a part of me that I literally hid. Like I was almost in denial of the entire thing. And I do talk about this on Shan Boudreaux's podcast. And it's just a really beautiful, unfiltered conversation about all of it, and it includes a doctor, and had such an amazing experience sharing this with her community. So I'm so grateful. So definitely you have to, once you see this video, go to that, or maybe you saw that and now you're here. Hi. So after many relationships that failed, and finally being in a place in my life where I'm like, I was ready to meet someone who was going to be my life partner, or the person I was gonna have kids with. During the pandemic, went to therapy, and the one thing that came up, maybe this could be the obstacle between me and wanting the thing that I want, is that I wasn't fully being transparent. I was not showing up fully as me. And it's like, obviously you're not gonna get what you want if you're not showing up. I thought I was showing up, you know, and you don't need to have herpes for this to come up, but like you could be that person where you're like, I'm showing up. It's all about that other person. It's not about me. They're fucked up. Like when you get to point the finger back at yourself, it's like the major accountability responsibility comes in. And that's when you get to look within to see what is stopping you from getting your dreams, from moving forward with your vision. For me, typically what opens up when I do that, and like the aha moments come from the secrets, the shadows, our darkness, right? If there's something in your life that you are ashamed by, that is an opening to your freedom. I didn't know this then and for a long time. I know this now. A lot of times we try to escape that thing, we try to hide that thing, but it comes and catches up with us. And that's what herpes did with me. It caught up with me in an emotional way. It was almost like me not coming to terms with that was keeping myself in some sort of emotional prison. What came up is that like I almost thought I couldn't be worthy of love. Like someone would not love me for all of me. And so in doing work with my therapist, I had this realization, and I was like, holy shit, like of course I'm not getting what I want in relationships, because like I could blame that person, but there's a lot that's on me. How am I showing up? And ultimately I admitted to myself that I wasn't showing up. As that came up and I started telling people I've been intimate with, that I then was intimate with, yeah, there was a lot of fear and anxiety, because there's just this feeling of rejection, which once again, people will be like, oh, come on. Like, that's not even a big deal. Like, get over yourself. When I say it's like in sharing that part of me with someone, the horror that runs through me, and I can't even explain it. It was so somatic. It was so like ingrained in my body and my brain that it was like the worst thing ever, which it isn't. And just these fear of not knowing how they were going to react. And ultimately that came back to me too, of like, okay, well, one, you can't control how someone reacts. Two, do you know that you're going to be okay no matter what? So for me, I had to like fully know that, embody that of like, Shira, whether that person, that guy thinks you're awesome or not, and this was gross or amazing, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but it doesn't. It's on this person. And when you know who you are, you accept and love yourself no matter what, it doesn't matter what someone thinks about you. It could hurt and you could feel that and process it, but then it's like, okay, that's you. That's you, boo. And for me, sharing this became a huge filter for the people I wanted to be around. And that was scary and hard because I was the type of person that like almost gave everyone a chance, right? But almost like I ended up hanging out with people that probably weren't in alignment with what I wanted and who I was. And so I just like kind of spend time, and I hate to say waste time with these people, but I ultimately wasn't getting what I wanted from them. And then I'd be like, why? So in sharing this, like right away, it became a filter, leading me to the person I'm with, who I'm very proud to be with this person. And right away, there was just an alignment. It's like we had this really honest conversation about STDs, and I opened up about the fact that I have genital herpes, and it was like, okay, cool. And for me, that was like a very emotional moment. And so each time I shared it, like anything, you own it more and more and more. That's when Shan Boudrum comes into the picture. She was a guest on my radio show. Off air, we were talking about how we're doing, and I said to her, wow, one, I've met someone. She's like, no way. I was like, yes, I've had this like kind of awakening. I've come to terms with this thing that was so scary for me, and it led me to meeting the man of my dreams. She's like, wait, you got to talk about this on my show on Quibi. Finally, I decided I'm going to do the show in 2020. I do it. So I'm leaving the studio of this Quibi show, and literally I find out that Quibi shut down. So I go to myself, great. That was just something to share. The universe does not want this to be public at all. Fast forward 6 months later, Shan reaches out to me. She's launching a podcast. She wants to talk about this. Love after herpes. And at this point, I'm like, kind of been there, done that. Like, I don't know if I need to share this anymore. Again, she encouraged me. And so, yeah, I decided to do it. It was released on National Herpes Day, and it's just been a whirlwind ever since. I've gotten to meet so many incredible people in the community who are doing amazing things, destigmatizing herpes and STDs. These are great resources, whether you have herpes or not, to get more informed. After I recorded Shan's podcast, I felt really good about it. I was very anxious going into it. She really helped me a lot and made me feel like a rock star. But then I woke up the next day with major anxiety. Like, what the fuck did I just do? And I literally called the men I had been with and had a conversation with each one. It was crazy because I was talking to people that I have not seen, I had been with a long time ago. But it felt good and important to talk to them and share this. Also to get their support. Not all of them, but yeah, most of them get their support about what I was doing. Not that it mattered, but for me, it was important to let those people know what had happened, what I have, and to take accountability for that. So if it wasn't difficult enough to talk about herpes, just to let people know in general, then to do it publicly on a podcast and social media, and then in addition, calling everyone that I'd been with, yeah, that's a lot. A lot in like a 48-hour period. And also leading up to this one, I told my mom, I hadn't told my dad, there was a bit of a worry for me of like, would companies and brands want to work with me? I literally thought I'd lose jobs, and I probably might not get brand deals with companies that don't want to talk about these things. But then it's like, and I get there's certain environments where this is appropriate and not appropriate. I'm not going everywhere and like everywhere that I'm hosting and doing my work and just talking about the fact that I have herpes all the time. But yeah, I got worried. And then at the same time, I said to myself, am I just gonna like put on the show in terms of who I want people to think I am and just be this superficial version of me so I can get a potential brand deal or job that doesn't even feel authentic or aligned? Like, is that the reason why I'm here on this earth? Is this the life I want to live? And the reality was, No. I want to be super fulfilled by what I do. I want to feel a lot of purpose and energy. I want to feel connected. I want to feel like I'm making an impact. And sometimes that means taking a leap of faith and sharing parts of you that you feel could help others. If this is a huge hump for you, what I would suggest and encourage is, one, make sure you have support. This could be from friends or family, or from a mental health professional, a therapist, to understand what's happening in between you and sharing with the person that you're with, because there will be some huge healing in that gap. And I just so want to encourage you to get that support that you need, because you deserve it. You don't need to go at this alone. I did that for way too long and it did not help. It led me on many dark downward spirals. And so the biggest lesson from all of this is really, one, owning who you are, digging into your darkness and finding spaces for healing, and just knowing that you get to really live in your whole truth. And whoever you end up being with will love you for who you are. You won't need to hide anything from that person. You know how I know? Because I have that and it's possible. It is so possible. And I want to be talking more about this on my channel and on social media, and I will. I've been doing Instagram lives with Herpes Could Never. And I also want to be doing some Q&As with experts like Janelle from the STI Project and others. So definitely, as you're watching this, if you have any thoughts or questions, leave it in the comments below, or you can even just message me privately on Instagram. What I hope people will get in hearing my story is that they are not alone. And even if you don't have herpes or an STD, it's about being informed and understanding what's happening on the other side. So you can also take action and take a stand in terms of having compassionate conversations around sexual health. Like, that's my biggest mission. I'm very into wellness. And for me, wellness is not just about mental health. It encompasses so many things. It includes mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, and sexual health. And the sexual health part is something that we typically put aside. It's like separate from all of that. But I always say, if you have some sort of block in either of those, that will impact your wellness and mental health. And it definitely did for me. So I just encourage you to look into whatever that is for you, inquire, be curious about it, and get support, because that for me was a game changer. The biggest myth about herpes is one that it's like a death sentence. No, it is not a life-threatening disease. It's like having a canker. I mean, cold sores, you get them down there too, right? And you could actually get them in other areas of your body too. Oral herpes, HSV1, 50 to 80% of people have it, okay? Whether you know it or not. Genital herpes, 1 out of 6 people in the US, I think women in the US have it. So the numbers are there. If you don't know this, it's because there's people that you've been with or around you that don't talk about it. And we gotta start talking about it. That's that. The reality is, unless you have an outbreak, you can't pass it on to someone. And when you have an outbreak, it's not just like everywhere and you're dying. Like the first time that you have it, it sucks because your body's in shock. So that's probably gonna hurt the most. And then a lot of times people don't get it after that, again, for the rest of their lives sometimes, or it will pop up usually when you're stressed. Also, you might not realize this, but oral herpes is now kind of moving on to genital herpes. So someone can have oral herpes that you're with and then give it to you and it appears as genital. It's not like you're gonna go out of your way to get any of this, but I would say that it's not the end of the world. It's an inconvenience. So it's not like the plague. You don't need to like be freaked out or anything. It is not the end of the world. It does feel like it, but it's important to know that it's not the end of the world. And there are so many people out here that have it if we just started talking about it. And the other myth is like, oh, I can't date or have fun sex or all that if I have herpes. That is so not true. It's not true at all. One, as long as you're safe, like obviously if you're in a monogamous relationship, don't have sex during outbreaks. If you're single and mingling, use protection anyway. It's important to have that conversation. One, you might find out that other person has herpes too, or it just creates a more intimate conversation about how you want to connect, right? And that's the biggest thing actually I've realized in coming out with this, is that it opens up such real, honest, intimate, raw conversations. And if you think you've had closeness without having this conversation, I feel like you don't even know what closeness is, because closeness and intimacy is really when you put yourself out there and you're vulnerable with someone. And so I just encourage you, as long as it's safe, to open up that part of you, open your heart to vulnerability, because that's where the magic is of connection, like true, deep, real connection. And it could be for a night or possibly long-term for a relationship. But intimacy can't happen without vulnerability. It goes hand in hand. Just like a lot of people, never in a million years did I think I would get herpes, let alone share all of this with the world. But this journey has taught me two things. One, the worst is never the worst, and the only shame is hiding who you really are. We are all perfectly flawed individuals that have parts of ourselves that we are not proud of. The lie is in telling ourselves that that's what makes us unworthy. And I hope this video gives you permission to own every bit of who you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let me know of a time that you leaned into your light and shared something that you were ashamed of in the comments below. Guess what? We are all in this together. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon.